Good morning, everybody. Jared James here, and welcome to this edition of your weekly virtual broadcast. It is November 12th. I am getting ready right now. I'm doing an event actually at the casino in my state, which is nice. I don't have to get on a plane or anything. So I will see some of you there at Mohegan Sun Casino tomorrow. I think I'm heading up today, but I think I don't speak till tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that with you guys. Thank you to so many of you that joined our, that was on our 2019 business planning training that I did last week. We had thousands of people on there, which was so cool. The replay to that is actually right below you here. So make sure you watch that. Make sure you're downloading all the documents and everything you need to really plan for what's going to happen in 2019, not just want what's going to happen in 2019, but really plan for what's going to happen in 2019. For those of you that are new, make sure you go to connectwithjared.com, connectwithjared.com, connect on a sport, of course, number one, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, all of these places. You can always send me questions all throughout the week like you guys do all the time. And actually, the topic I'm going to cover with you guys today comes from something that was posted in our Facebook group. And our Facebook group is like the best place to post questions, referrals, network, mastermind, all of that kind of stuff. And that's right below you, the link for that as well. Or if you're on Facebook, just type in Jared James Coaching and request to join. But there was a thread on there that was a really interesting thread, and it was all about the idea of commissions and fighting for your commissions and you know, what you're worth. And it was started by Shane Anderson, one of our longtime one-on-one students. So shout out to you, Shane. But you know, he tagged me in there, and it looked like I read all the comments and everything. And it looked like a worthwhile thing to talk about, because I think this thing of commissions is something that a lot of you deal with on a regular basis. And different parts of, you know, North America and beyond charge different percentages. And my role is always just one where I come from. How do you get the most that you deserve, regardless of what that percentage is, because every area is different. It's more so not just downgrading yourself to the lowest common denominator. You know, Seth Godin talked about how there's this thing called a race to the bottom. And in the race to the bottom, where everybody's the same, it's basically we start getting into price wars. And once you get into a price war, it's a losing battle, because anybody can undercut. If what you offer is simply the lowest price, then any brand new one day in, will be gone in 2 weeks real estate agent can go and take your business, because they can simply cut under you, right? That's why we don't want to get into a price war like that, okay? But it's also very difficult for some of you to hold the line and be able to get the types of percentages and otherwise that you prefer to get, the premium percentages in your area, when you're not sure, number one, how to do it. You don't even fully believe in it. You don't know why you're any different. And you're not offering the services and everything else that make you worth it. And so that's a little bit of what I want to talk about today, okay? Is at the actual listing presentation, how do you start to get the commissions that you deserve and that you're worth, okay, without having to get into some kind of a price war, okay? And so first off, one of the things I teach people is that the first thing we say when we sit down, and by the way, guys, this is one where you're probably going to want to take a lot of notes, okay? And so the first thing that you want to do when you sit down at that at the table or wherever it is that you're sitting with them when it comes to a market analysis is you want to use this line that you guys have heard from me many times, but not enough of you are using. And it's really to create the expectation. It's the line, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, on a scale of 1 to 10, what are 2 or 3 things that need to be a 10 in order for you to feel comfortable making the right decision to hire me before I leave today? Okay, so that's a very crucial line, because that creates expectation that if these 2 or 3 things are a 10 for you, then you're going to sign with me today, okay? And so we're already starting to create that. We're also already starting to demonstrate our level of expertise. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, on a scale of 1 to 10, what are 2 or 3 things that need to be a 10 in order for you to feel comfortable making the right decision to hire me before I leave today, okay? Now, what you notice about that, guys, when I'm saying that, is that I'm not struggling. I know what to say. I'm a pro. I've said this so many times. Like, I've said it, and I'm very confident about it, okay? And so you want to make sure that you're doing those kinds of things right in the beginning, because what's going to happen is they're going to tell you what you need to focus on. They're going to tell you that marketing matters to us. They're going to tell you that communication matters to you. They're going to tell you that they don't want to have someone who's so busy that they can never talk to them. They're going to tell you all of this kind of stuff. And now you're going to know what it is that you're supposed to focus on and what are the things that don't even matter to them, okay? But the next place we want to get to, because this call specifically today, I want to talk about how to actually get the commissions that you deserve, is to make sure that you're actually worth that. You know, you have seen from me a lot of times, I've been talking about lately the team concept and what that means, and that a solopreneur in this industry is not the long-term fix. It's not what's going to work long-term in this industry. And that doesn't mean you need a 50-person buyer agent, whatever team, but there are a team of people who can help you. And one of those people that can help you that not enough of you are aware of, and that we teach actually at the mastermind, is the idea of a virtual transaction coordinator, a contract to close person, where literally all you pay them. You don't pay them a salary. You don't pay them anything like that. They just get a set amount per transaction, whether that's $250, whether that's $500, whether that's $350. Every area is different, but these people are all over near you. They're doing it all the time. The top people in your area are using these people, and they most of the time work remotely because you're not their only client. But they work remotely from their house. They work remotely from another office. They work remotely. And as I said, you're usually not their only client, but they only get paid when stuff closes. And their job is basically from contract to close to make everything happen, to set everything up, to make sure inspections were done, to make sure that you stick to the dates, to make sure, like, this is all they do from contract to close. And you only pay when they actually close. You can also have people who do stuff like that and do marketing for the listing when it comes on. That can be part of their job as well. But again, there's no risk on your end. They're only getting paid when when that file actually closes. But when you have someone like that, the nice thing is that now you're giving them yet another value piece, the seller, to make your commission worth it. Because I don't just do this myself. Like, whenever I would go up against a solopreneur, I'd say, hey, I hope they're not too good at their job, because it takes a certain amount of time to do everything that I've talked about here. And the only way they can do that is if they don't have other business going on. So I hope they're not too good at their job, because then they'll have other clients. So I guess what we're hoping here is that they're not really good at their job, so they can give all of their time to you, okay? And if they're able to give all their time to you, that means they weren't very good at their job to begin with. So we've got a bit of a conundrum right now. Okay. But all of these things, like telling a seller about your transaction coordinator and what they're going to do from contract to close, and how it's their only job to do that, so nothing falls through the cracks, nothing falls or whatever, is all building your value. Okay. When you talk about with them how another thing that you do within your team is that or within your company, you could say your team, your company, yourself. And by the way, if you have a transaction coordinator, if you have a virtual assistant, if you have someone who helps you on any level, you have a team. Okay. Another thing that you're going to do is you're going to keep track of all their records, all of their HUD documents, all of their everything for 7 years, so that if anything ever happens from a tax perspective or anything else, they can literally reach out and you'll send that off to them. That's one less thing that they have to think about. If you're using an ISA, if you're using a virtual ISA or virtual anything, that's another thing that you're going to talk about. All these things are building your value above and beyond what other people do. And so look, any leads that come in, they get followed up within 5 minutes. They're going to be followed up over and over and over again, whatever. We don't depend on one person to hope they have time. We depend on everybody to do their job. And that's all part of our value proposition. Guys, think about this for a second. Nobody walks into a Mercedes dealership and says, well, Pinto down the road said they do it for $7. Right? Because everyone's like, well, that's ridiculous. Pinto to Mercedes? Like, that makes no sense. The reason why they do it with real estate people is because we do not define value above and beyond what the other person who went in did. And so they look at it as a price of entry into the market that you have to use a real estate agent, I guess, but let's just get the cheapest one we can get, because we don't define what our value actually is. And in many cases, we don't actually know what our value is. And the other thing we do that doesn't build up our value, and it's why they're challenging us on things like commission and these other things, is that we're not leveraging this thing called loss aversion. And loss aversion is the idea that not only are you making a decision yes or no to work with me, but if you make the decision to not work with me, you're not just not working with me, you're losing everything I was going to give you above and beyond what the other people did. Okay. And you start doing that with things like the transaction coordinators, the ISAs, talking about how you keep track of the files and they're available at all times. Other people may do this, but the fact that they don't communicate it means that they don't get credit for it. Right. But let's look at what we do from a marketing perspective. We've taught over and over again on our How to Win the Listing on YouTube, how you should actually be showing them the ads that are going to go out, right? Talk about the 3 Ps of listing marketing a listing, because that's stuff that people don't communicate to them. We're going to market your property pre it going on the market. We're going to market it present being on the market. We're going to market it post being on the market. And here's what those ads are going to look like. You can actually create those ads, your coming soon ads, your just listed, your open house ads, your just sold, your whatever. You can create those digital ads in Facebook for Facebook and Instagram and these other places and either screenshot it and show them exactly what it's going to look like, including the right-hand side that shows how many thousands of people are going to see it the moment you hit submit, okay? And now you're able to say to them, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, the moment you make the right decision to work with me, my marketing person is going to hit submit on this ad, and it's going to start showing up right away to people who don't even go on the MLS. These are our target market right here. So these 17,532 people, the moment you make the right decision to list with me, we're going to hit submit on this, and they're going to start seeing this on their phones and in the places that actually matter, where people actually search. And more so, what you're telling them is, if you don't go with me, you're not getting that, because now I've showed it to you. Now you actually see what we're working with there, okay? So you want to do stuff like that and actually show them what it is they're going to get, because all of that creates value. You want to talk to and show them exactly what you do from a circle prospecting perspective, okay? You want to actually show them that, look, we use Sly Broadcast, and that's going to go a voicemail to every single person in this area. We go and door knock, you know, we use our time and we do it that way. We're going to send out the listing to everybody in this area. We're going to target them with a digital Facebook, Instagram ad that's going to force them back to us and let them know that what's going on right now. Here's exactly what we're going to say to them when we call this area, right? We're going to call everybody in your neighborhood and let them know what's going on, and do a mega open house. And we're going to and you're going through each and every single thing that you're going to be doing for them, because it matters, because they're going, shoot, that's a lot to lose. Loss aversion, right? You're going to talk to them about things like how many months of inventory are on the market and what that means to them, and how many properties are below the point that are going to sell, and how many are above, and here's the sweet spot in the middle where we ultimately want to be, and you're going to talk to them about that stuff, because that makes you look like a professional, right? Whereas everybody else is going in with a market analysis, and they're just going, here's this, here's that, so here's where I think your price should be. You can actually go in there and show them exactly how many properties are below, how many properties are above, how many properties are at the point, like what's the sweet spot for selling. And you can go in and you can do those kinds of things with them, because it makes you look like a professional. And when it comes time to the value, and it comes time to the pricing, and it comes time to the commission, and it comes time to all of these different things, these are the things that are going to matter, okay? And so all of this is building up your value, so that by the time you get to the end, the idea of them saying, well, so-and-so said they do it for blank percentage, sounds ridiculous, because you're just like, what? Like, they don't do anything like I do. They don't even know what an absorption rate is, okay? So when you're talking about how many months of inventory are here and where you price for how long you want to be on the market and these kinds of things, you're talking about things like absorption rate. And there's many different ways to price a property. One way is to actually just go by standard market analysis, but anybody could do that, because you're just pulling comps off the market. You need to look at things like absorption rates and what that means, and where the economy is, and what the rates are right now, what they're like. Look like a professional. You want to overwhelm them with the amount of information you know about the market, and you also want to have stats available to you as far as how much your properties sell over the normal market and such, because of the marketing and because of everything that you're going to be doing for them that goes above and beyond throw it on the MLS and pray, because that's what most of them think you do. We're going to throw it on the MLS and pray, and then we'll kind of see what happens from there. So you have to walk them through all of your marketing systems and show them exactly what they do and how it works and why it's good for them. And more importantly, again, from a loss aversion perspective, they lose this if you don't do this with them, if they don't work with you. You want to leverage loss aversion, okay? You want to show them in your CRM, in your database, how many buyer leads are in there. If you've been doing what we've been talking about on a regular basis, and you've actually been doing the 3 different parts to marketing and listing, and you're bringing in buyer leads on a regular basis, and you've got your ads out there that they're filtering in buyer leads on a regular basis, you're able to show them, hey, I've got 372 buyer leads here. I've got 3,000 buyer leads here. I've got 10,000 buyer leads. That the moment you make the right decision to work with me, we're going to shoot them a mass text from our CRM that's going to show them exactly the property that's available and try to schedule a showing. And going to do that stuff that's proprietary information, proprietary buyer lead stuff that other people don't have access to. And that's why, guys, you're seeing right now as I'm going through step by step on these things, it's why it's so important that you guys have been following the steps and following everything I've been teaching up until now, because all of these parts work together. all of these parts that seem to have nothing to do with this part over here help to close people over here. Okay, we use all of it to leverage ourselves within business. Okay, and so for a lot of you, you're listening to me and you're like, that's what I'm doing. I got to learn how to communicate this better. And then a lot of other you that are listening are going, crap, I wasn't doing any of that. It's why we must run our businesses systematically and in the way that I'm trying to teach you guys to do, because it all helps each other close. They all work together. It's not one thing. Okay, it's just running a real estate business. Now, there's a lot of other things we can go into there as far as how you prove value. But again, I try to keep these calls relatively short. Okay. A lot of you, by the way, need to be looking at one-on-one coaching for the new year. That's the different level of coaching where you have your person who's just assigned to you and holds you accountable and trains you and teaches you and good stuff. Now let's talk about actual objections though. You know, some of you have heard me talk about these commission objections, but you're not actually using them enough on a regular basis. And that's really where this was spurred, was that somebody had used the line that we teach them from a commission objection standpoint, and it didn't work with somebody because they still went with the lowest person. And my whole thing is, if you're running your business in the way that you should be running it, sure, there's going to be outliers. There's going to be people who just look for the smallest, the lowest price, the lowest whatever. But you want to run your business in a way that you don't have to take those people, that you don't have to be a bottom feeder, that you don't have to. You want people who are rational and logical and want the best deal for their property and don't mind paying a premium for it, which, by the way, is the way that people interact and people purchase and transact in just about every other area of their life. Look at people around you. Do they have the cheapest car on the market? Do they have the cheapest jeans on the market? Do they have the cheapest shoes on the market? Do they have the cheapest? No. Sometimes they don't have the highest, but they certainly in most cases don't have the cheapest, okay? Because they see a difference in value on those things. So when you're dealing with someone and you get to the end and they say, well, so-and-so said they'd do it for 4%. Or do it for 3%, or do it for 5%, or do it for whatever, and you're charging anything above that, your response is pretty simple. You're going to say, well, at least so-and-so knows what they're worth. And then just kind of smile. Let an awkward pause happen, okay? And then after that awkward pause happens and they're kind of like pattern disrupt, like, ooh, that was kind of rough. You say, but I know what I'm worth too. And I also know what your property is worth. And lucky for you, I'm going to fight for its value the same way that I fight for my own. And what you just did was you just created a tie down between the value of their home and your value. And what happens when you do that is that if they're willing to devalue you, will you go down to so-and-so percent, then they also have to be willing to devalue their own home. Okay. That's called being a pro. And now they're looking at you going, yeah, this is somebody I want negotiating my property. And then it's very easy to follow up with them as well and just say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, how comfortable would you feel having someone negotiate the price of the largest asset you're ever going to own when they can't even negotiate their own value? There you go. They just dropped. Listen with me now and I'll drop. Does that sound like somebody who's going to take care of your property? Does that sound like someone who's going to get you every last dollar they can? Or does that sound like someone who's going to do whatever they can just to get it off the market so they can get paid? See, the way that we do this, guys, is we don't degrade other people. We just ask questions. What's that sound like? Does that sound like someone you'd want to? Like, what person would hear that question and go, yeah, that sounds like somebody I want negotiating my property? No, no one's going to say that, okay? And again, if someone does, then lucky to know you found out now, because they're going to be a pain in the ass, like goodbye, right? Now, what about when you get that real alpha person right off the bat? You sit down with them and they go, look, I don't want to waste anybody's time. None of this means anything if we can't first agree on a price. We can't first agree on your price, what your commission is going to be, right? Because remember, we don't determine the value of a property. The market does that, but we do determine the value of us. And so what about when you get that alpha person like that, who right in the beginning doesn't even want to go through the presentation until, because I don't want to waste any time, if we can't first agree on your price, right? And you're going to get those people. Well, what we've been taught to do many times is, well, don't work with them. Pick up your ball and go home because, they're obviously unrealistic. No, they're an alpha, and an alpha only respects a larger alpha. So at that point, you have to be a larger alpha, and you have to say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I agree. I don't want to waste any of my time either. Notice what I did, my time. I don't want to waste any of my time either. So let's just make an agreement right now. We're going to negotiate on what my commission should be for your home. But I need you to promise me that if you win this negotiation, I need you to promise me that you'll never hire me to sell the largest asset you're ever going to own. Deal? And then just stop. Because now their head's going to start spinning and they're going, crap, like, I guess I can't go with that person that I negotiated down the other day. What do I do here? Like, And now you're showing them that they're actually working with a professional. And that's what you're trying to do. When you're up against in areas, a lot of you are up against discount brokerages and they're doing it 1% and 2% and doing that kind of stuff. Guys, sometimes we overthink this stuff. Again, how do you answer anything? You answer with a question. Make them think. Don't make it like you're downing anybody. Make them think. And when they say, well, we had this company come in, said they'd only do it for this many dollars, or they do it for 1%, or why would I pay you the full when I don't need? Well, first off, if you've already done everything that you were supposed to show them, it's not apples to apples. You're offering a completely different way of selling than just throwing it up again and praying and just taking a low percentage. But you always want to say to them, Mr. Mrs. Seller, let me ask you a question. This is the largest asset that you're ever going to own. This is the largest sale you're probably ever going to be a part of. Why would anyone choose to do the exact same job, assuming that we're apples to apples? Why would anyone choose to do the exact same job that I'm going to do, or at least convince you they're going to do the exact same job that I'm going to do for a third or less of the price that I'm going to do it, unless they simply couldn't hack it at a traditional brokerage? Like, why would anybody do the exact same work that I'm going to do? They're going to do whatever at a much lower reduced cost unless they couldn't make it at my place because they really weren't that great at selling homes. It's just a question. And it's an obvious question. Why would anyone do that? The truth is because many of those people can't make it at a traditional brokerage, can't get the fee. And if they can't get the fee, why would you want them negotiating a property worth hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars? Okay. So just because everyone's out there and saying they're doing the same thing does not mean that they're the same. And by the way, that is the same in just about any industry. You can go look at it. There are professionals and then there are bottom feeders. And what so many of you have to determine here is whether you're a professional or whether you're a bottom feeder, because bottom feeders will get paid accordingly. Okay, guys, that's what I want to go over with you guys today. This is one you may want to listen to a few times, take a lot of notes. More importantly, practice, 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 practice. And as we head into the new year, let's make it, for a lot of you, you need to get into one-on-one coaching. That's something that is going to help you moving forward with running an actual business, running them all in the right way, getting the right prices and the right money that you deserve within your practice. As always, guys, if you have questions or you enjoyed this, go ahead and post in the group or send me a message on Instagram or something like that. This is one I think is going to help a lot of you. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.